Hey, starting the season on a nice note.
Alrighty, well, let's get this underway. You may notice both of us do not have prominent, amazing lighting. This is not our typical recording spaces. Uh, I have to record off of a laptop, so lighting is not ideal. And Mitch is at his parents' house. And do you want to explain why you're at your parents' house?
Yeah, we basically had a tornado come through my area practically, and my power's gone. So I have to be here now. I don't have any power. I can't do videos. We had a draft today. Couldn't really do that either unless I was here. Yeah, we'll see. They say it's supposed to come back on Thursday. At the end of the day on Thursday. I really hope it does because I don't want to be without power for almost more than that.
I hope so too, because we got some good football games starting on Thursday.
Yeah, I don't want to miss those either. Although I probably
We
will
got a
have to be
good
here to watch them anyway.
Got a good week starting. Well, let's go ahead and get shockers out of the way to get us started before we make our picks. So we're gonna get it out of the way. Sam's shocker is West Virginia, 8.5. Oh, I have two cats now, so you'll occasionally see them causing chaos in the background. He's gonna go with West Virginia, 8.5 over Penn State. And Mitch, what is your shocker?
Uh, yeah, so of course everybody knows how this obviously works. If you've been here for however long, you know how we do this. Also, I don't have a mic, so maybe this sounds a little bit uh maybe not as good as normal because well, yeah, I didn't bring any of my stuff with me. Oh wait, this is me, not Sam. Um, but I didn't bring anything with me because I really wasn't planning on doing this in my parents' house, so I don't have a mic with me. Anyways, my shocker for this week to start off the season is actually going to be the Clemson Tigers over the Georgia Bulldogs. I think Clemson right about now, they're like a 14, they're either a 14-point underdog or a 13 and a half point underdog. I really like Clemson's team. They got a solid squad. Georgia's obviously a very good team, and I feel like Georgia surely will have a solid season overall. But Clemson's got themselves a very nice unit. Um, they're a very good roster. Clemson's got tons of talent. The difference in this game between last year, because last year's game, I believe it was also Georgia, if I'm remembering correctly, and it was Oregon that they were playing. The difference this year is Clemson matches up with Georgia way better than Oregon does. And I think Georgia probably still has the upper hand overall, but I think Clemson matches up a lot better. This should be a much more competitive game. And the fact that this is a 14-point line, or I think it's 13 and a half, but whatever line it is a large line. The fact that it's that large of a line, I do like Clemson. So I am going with more so the big line than I am an actual shocker I think will happen. But okay, that looks a little better. But so I'm taking Clemson in this one. And Swerve, take it away for yours. But I think I know what yours is already.
Okay, we got light now. Let me put that back.
Yeah, I worked on
Okay,
mine too. So
you can
there.
see my face. All right, mine is very similar to yours. Week one, I'm just gonna take a bigger line that I think has a chance. FAU over Michigan State. Call me. Okay. Look. I know I'm picking against a rival. Also, by the way, real quick, we haven't recorded since last year. Our favorite team's national champions now. Mitch, do you want to show the shirt? We both
Yes,
found out that
sir. National
we have
champs,
the
baby.
we have the exact same shirt.
Literally.
We can take a minute here and say, "Go Blue, national champs." Nobody can take that away from us. I don't care what you say. Nobody can take that away from us.
Nope.
Um, But my main reason here is I think FAU is a decently solid team. They're a solid group of five team. I think Aiden Childs is going to be phenomenal. I'm really high on Nathan Childs from Michigan State. Now, new head coach, new quarterback, new system, new team. I mean, the quarterback and the head coach are coming from the same place, so that's a benefit. But it's a lot of new pieces in the very first week of the season. I think it's a slight chance for an upset. Am I going to pick Michigan? Am I going to pick FAU? No. Am I going to pick FAU when they're a 14-point underdog in Shockers? Yeah. All right, you ready to get these 20 games underway?
Yeah, I think it's time to get the season started right. Isn't it great to have this even back?
Oh, I'm so excited. And you know what I'm super excited about? We get to start our very first episode, our very first game. I think you might have done this intentionally. The fact that the very first game we're going to talk about is the
Just
defending
maybe.
national champions, the Michigan Wolverines, ninth ranked Wolverines at home taking on the Fresno State Bulldogs. They are favored by 21 points. Over under is set at 45 and a half. They say they're going to pick the starting quarterback by Thursday. Whether we know who the starting quarterback is until Saturday is to be figured out. We don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Orgy. Yeah, I believe it's between Orgy and Warren right now. So Sharon Moore said Jaden Davis was doing really well. I highly doubt we see Jaden Davis start. I highly doubt that. They'll probably give him a red shirt. Keep him for a couple more years. But I think it'll be Orgy. Honestly, you'll probably be able to throw John O'Corn in our backfield as our quarterback, and we'd win this game against Fresno State. Fresno State's a good team. Mike Keene's a good quarterback. I don't know anything about their offensive line, but I don't know who on their offensive line is going to block Mason Graham or Kenneth Grant. And that's going to be something you're going to hear from me a lot this year. I think there's only 3 teams on our schedule that can block those 2 guys. Other than that, I don't think anybody else can. So, yeah, give me the Wolf.
All right, so I'm obviously you're taking the Wolverines. I think that's the consensus pick. I mean, obviously I'm taking Michigan too. Um, it's gonna be an interesting year this year. Obviously, like I said, we are the defending champions, and I am looking. We have, I mean, we shared Sam's shocker. We have his picks as well. He wasn't able to join us tonight. Um, but I am taking the Wolverines in this one. I mean, it's week one. Obviously, it's not the hardest of opponents. Fresno State's a decent team. Don't get me wrong; they have some talent. But this is Michigan we're talking about. And people will say, oh, well, Michigan's lost a lot of people. Texas is going to be next week. There's a lot that'll be going on. But this is Michigan we're talking about. I mean, we still have plenty of decent defensive players that are coming back. We still got Colston Loveland, who's also coming back. We got Donovan Edwards, who's also coming back. I mean, we got loads of talent that is still returning. Now, do I think we'll win the national championship this year? No, I highly doubt that. But this team is certainly talented, and people who are saying that we're not even going to make the CFP now that it's at 12 teams, I think are crazy. So I'm taking the Wolverines in this one. It's Fresno State. We should easily win, and I think we'll at least cover that 20, was it 1 point line now for Michigan
21
Fresno
point.
State?
Hey, early season Michigan, we might not cover that. Early season Michigan, they don't give 2 craps
I
when
mean
they're
that's
playing
true,
Michigan.
but I still think they'll cover it. I mean, I mean, it's Fresno State. Anyways, moving on. We got FAU and Michigan State. I guess we'll just kind of go snake. I'll start here,
Yeah,
and then we'll just go you, Sam, then go the other way, do the same thing.
I'll just
Um,
I'll I'll continue to preface. I'll preface the games probably like I did the last one. Just the all right. We got FAU at Michigan State. Michigan State is a 14-point favorite. Over under set at 45 and a half. Mitch, you're up. What we got?
all right. Yeah, I mean, Michigan State, they're gonna be a much different team this year. I mean, I know last year obviously was not what people were hoping for and led to the ultimate demise of what's his name, Mel
Or,
Tucker, led
or
to his
other
demise and led to the introduction of Jonathan Smith, the former Oregon State head coach, to Michigan State. Personally, I really like Jonathan Smith. I think he's a good head coach. He brings in several guys from Oregon State to East Lansing, including Aiden Childs, who I think has some potential. FAU is not the greatest of teams. I'm picking Michigan State in this one. It's week one, also. I feel like the Spartans should be able to take care of business. I mean, last year when they played Central, they won like what 24-7 or something. It'll probably be similar to that. It won't be a blowout, but Michigan State will win in a we'll win by a comfortable margin.
Yeah, you know the the coach and quarterback coming are going to be good when I verbally went, "Dang it," when they hired him and he transferred. I actually got to watch Aiden Childs in person, the Arizona Oregon State game, because they kind of benched. I don't remember if they benched or if DJU got hurt, but they played a lot of Aiden Childs in that game. He looked really good. I know I picked FAU as my shocker, but no shocker. I am still going the Spartans on a pick because again, I really believe in Aiden Childs. Unfortunately, believe in Aiden Childs, and I think he's going to be a great quarterback, and I think they're going to be much better than people think this year. They're 4.5 win total. You'll see the win total post will come out here soon. I think 4.5 is mad disrespectful on a win total. So, and then Sam, I believe, had Michigan State as well. Yes, he did.
He did.
We are
And
going to
just
move.
a side note for that
Yeah,
Instagram channel, it's gonna be a bit more active this year. Me and Swerve for sure. We're gonna be posting a bunch of stuff on there, and maybe someone else gets involved too. But we've kind of forgotten about that. Honestly, I've forgotten it's actually existed a little bit.
yeah.
So
Trying to update my graphics and all that. Crotch Chatter Podcast on Instagram. Anyway, moving on. We are going to be going to JMA Wireless Dome, also known as the Carrier Dome, because I refuse to call it the JMA Wireless Dome. We have the Syracuse Orange opening up their season against the Ohio Bobcats. We have the greatest quarterback of all time in Kyle McCord as our quarterback. Syracuse is a 17.5 point favorite, over under set at 44. I'm glad I get to talk about this first. Ohio State fans, every Ohio State fan that comes and tells me, haha, enjoy bum Kyle McCord on your team. We were running a third string tight end at quarterback for half of the season last year. Kyle McCord is an upgrade by far. Uh, in reality, he is a huge help. I am super excited for year one under Fran Brown. We've already seen Fran Brown can recruit. Dude came in and just started flipping people from the portal nonstop. He was phenomenal in the portal window. I'm excited to see his actual freshman class. This is Atticus, everybody. Atticus, say hi.
hey, how's it going there, bud?
Um,
Likes you.
Fran Brown. I'm excited to see his first in-game coaching. I'm really excited. Rondé Gadsden returns from injury, so he's a stud and a beast. LaQuint Allen at running back. I love this team. I'm very excited to see what this team can do. We just got to stay healthy. I do think we kick the Bobcats. Curtis Rourke doesn't even go there anymore. I don't even know who their quarterback is anymore. So they've been one of the better G5 teams recently. I think we're going to come out here and put on a show. Go Syracuse by a bunch.
Yeah, I do. Kyle McCord is a solid QB. I do think he's a solid overall player. I mean, for Ohio State standards, I don't think he's really what they're looking for. But bring him over to Syracuse. Oh yeah, he'll do just fine. Um, but Syracuse, you'll be just fine at the Syracuse program. Um, and he'll be perfect for their QB. He'll be just fine there. I mean, that's more his speed. Ohio State are looking for guys who are going to be, Heisman Trophy winners, who are going to be, uh, you know, breaking open the game. That's not Kyle McCord. But for Syracuse, all they really want is somebody who's going to just be at least okay. So I got Syracuse winning this one. I think Kyle McCord will do great in with the orange. So give me the Q's over the aforementioned Bobcats.
And Sam also has Syracuse. All right, we are going to go
Yes,
to our
I
next.
yep, I forgot to mention that.
We are going to go to our next game. We've got one team that played in week 0 and almost beat
One.
SMU, which I don't. I think SMU. Yeah, SMU. No, I don't think SMU's on here. Real quick, SMU isn't on here, but everybody who was talking about SMU being a dark horse contender for the ACC, I'm a little concerned about. I'm a little. Nevada is very not very good, so that was not good. Anyway, side tangent. Nevada going on the road to take on the Troy Trojans. Troy is an 8.5 point favorite at home. Over under is set at 44.5. Mitch, where are you going on?
All right, I'll go ahead and take this one away. Don't really know a ton about these teams, but I do know that Nevada is not expected to be very good, and Troy is probably one of the better teams in the Sun Belt. And I know that Nevada nearly pulled the upset against SMU last week, but I'm not sure that's more indicative of SMU's overrated as opposed to Nevada's actually good. So I'll be taking Troy in this game. Troy is the home team. I think they're just they're the better overall team. So I'll take the I think it's Troy Trojans to win this one at home, or wherever they're located. Isn't Alabama?
Yeah, I'm pretty. I know it's in Alabama somewhere. No, wait, maybe it's in Louisiana. I might be crazy. Um, Now I need to know. Yeah, it isn't. It's in Alabama. It's in. It's in. Guess where? Troy, Alabama.
Oh, Lily is Troy. Okay.
I will say one of the sickest logos, the T being a sword, really, really cool idea. Overall, I think this. I honestly, personally think the Sun Belt is one of the better G5 conferences, probably behind the American Conference. It's definitely better than the Mountain West, in my opinion. I think the Mountain West has the best, probably the best G5 team in Boise State, but Nevada is or to the bottom of the Mountain West. Troy is in the Sun Belt. I like the Sun Belt a little bit better. Also, I like recruits better that come from Alabama than from Nevada. And Troy's been really good recently. And Nevada's, I think Sam took Troy as well. That he did.
uh, yes, Sam did take Troy.
Awesome. Well, we go to our next game. We've got the Mean Green, North Texas, going on the road to South Alabama. South Alabama is a 5 point favorite. Over under is set at 64.5. I like both these teams a lot. I do. Both these teams are great. I'd originally picked South Alabama because South Alabama is, I think, the better team. But I threw all logistic out the window once I remembered one of my best friends went to North Texas, and every time he comes over to my man cave or my dad's man cave, he points at the North Texas helmet and said, "Hey, I went there." So give me the mean green. I'll make him proud.
All right. And Sam also took North Texas. Um, I'm going South Alabama. And that's mostly because I mean, I don't this is another game where I really just know nothing about either team, hardly. Well, actually at all. But I remember all I know is I took North Texas last year for the fantasy college football for teams, and they end up being 5-7. So I'm not sure they're really all that good. And South Alabama, I think, was like 6-6 or 7-5. So based off of that, I will take South Alabama. Not sure if that's really the best strategy, but it's the only strategy I
As
have.
someone who knows a good bit about the G5, I like South Alabama better. They're a really good team, and they usually compete. They were not as good last year, but they usually compete pretty well in the Sun Belt. But I'm picking North Texas solely off of vibes, and my friend. So, all right, we move on to our next game. We've got another G5 matchup, a pretty big one here. We've got Georgia Southern at home taking on probably the best, at least everybody's saying the best G5 team in Boise State. Boise State on the road is a 13-point favorite. Over under set at 56.5. Mitch, where are you going on this?
This is again, I don't really know much about Georgia Southern. I know they weren't all that special last year. Boise State, I think, is clearly the better team here, which is why I'm going to be taking Boise State. But it's still hilarious to me. Remember that one quarterback who transferred over to
I know
Boise
where you're
State
going.
from USC? He's like the number one overall recruit. He didn't really do much at USC. He couldn't really crack the starting lineup. So he's like, all right, I'll transfer to Boise State. I'll win the starting job there. I think doesn't win the starting job at Boise State. He gets
He
benched.
lost it to Maddox Madsen. He lost it to. Yep,
I
that's
don't
where I
even
was
know.
going with that.
Yeah, and the fact is, I don't even know who that guy is. And I'm like, wow, you're supposed to be the number one overall recruit, and you didn't beat a no-name QB from Boise State. Like, really? But in any case, it's Boise State. They're always a solid team from the G5 out of the Mountain West. And as for Georgia Southern, I know nothing about them. I'm not sure they have anything. So by default, I go Georgia or I go Boise State.
Georgia Southern is in the state of Georgia, though, and thus far, Georgia teams have been done. Thus far, the state of Georgia's 1-0 this year. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah,
So
that is true. Yeah, that is true.
put Georgia Southern against Florida State, and they'll beat them. Yeah, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go Boise State too. Best team, Maddox Madsen. That's hilarious that he beat out Malachi Nelson. But I'm gonna go with Boise State. Pretty sure Sam went Boise State too. Yes, he did. Speaking of Georgia teams beating Florida State, we're gonna go to Florida State. We're gonna go to Tallahassee, where we've got the 10th ranked Florida State Seminoles. They're only 10th ranked because week 0 they don't make another poll. So they are still ranked 10th overall, but they won't be once the next poll comes out. All right, now that that's out of the way, the 10th ranked Florida State Seminoles at home taking on the Boston College Eagles. You've got the over under set at 50.5. Florida State is a 15.5 point favorite. I do not like Boston College. I hate them with all my guts as a Syracuse fan. So yeah, I'm picking the Seminoles here. Uh, I think the biggest thing is how Thomas Castellanos goes for Boston College, how his legs are going to affect them, because that was the big weakness of Florida State against Georgia Tech, was they could not stop the quarterback run no matter how many times they ran it. They still did not stop it very well, and they just kept running it down their throats. So I'm very interested to see. That's going to probably be Boston College's strategy going into this game. They're going to say, "Hey, we're going to keep testing them here until they prove us they can beat us." Uh, Big run game, big bounce back. I think Florida State goes home and wins the game. If they lose this game to Boston College, all hell is going to break loose. I'm just, that would not be good if they went home and lost this game. Because Boston College is a much worse. Georgia Tech isn't even that. So I'm going to go Florida State though, because screw Boston College.
Yeah, Sam has, I believe, he does. He does have the Seminoles winning this one. They looked bad against Georgia Tech, and I mean bad. I mean, this is a team that people were saying had, a shot of winning a national championship, which I already thought was crazy. Even before the Georgia Tech game, I'm like, there's no way that they win the Natty. Like maybe they sneak into the CFP and they get lucky. I'm not, and I wasn't even sure they would do that. I'm like, what do they have left? They lost Keon Coleman, they lost Jordan Travis, they lost, Johnny Wilson, they lost their running back. I'm pretty sure too. I mean, like they lost their entire offense. I'm like, then who else do they have left? And they're like, oh, they got DJ Uyagale to transfer. I'm like, okay. And your point is, like, and then we saw DJ play against Georgia Tech, and he looked like Joe Milton 2.0. I mean, every single throw was like a mile over the receiver's head. I mean, he looked like Joe Milton. Just he was more willing to run. But both lines for Florida State, offensive and defensive line, which were supposed to be strengths of the team, looked abysmal. And they were absolutely demolished by Georgia Tech on both fronts. And it was not pretty. And as you said, to your point, Florida State's run defense was absolutely trounced by Georgia Tech. And as much as I'm saying this, I'm still taking Florida State. because Boston College. Uh, but my point is, this is an overrated team. Like, this is not a good team. I'm not, especially after seeing that Georgia Tech game, I am not high on Florida State. I wasn't before that, but then after watching that, I'm like, yeah, no, this is not, no, no,
I will say
they're
this.
not.
I will I will say this to anyone who said, "Wow, DJU looks terrible." You just not watched DJU. They're like, "Man, this guy doesn't throw deep." Have you watched him the
Watch
last
DJ.
45? Have you watched him the last 45 collegiate starts at two other colleges that he had? That's just Florida State fans were like, "Wow, he's so conservative. He doesn't." Oh, what the? The cat just attacked my side and clawed at me while trying to climb my chair. Sorry about that. Calm down. Anybody who said that about DJU has never watched DJU in their life because that's just him. He hasn't changed. Anyway, DJU ran over. This was another one. This next game that we're going to was another one that I really heavily thought about for Shocker. It's going to be North Dakota State going to Folsom Field to take on the Colorado Buffaloes. Colorado's a 10-point favorite. Over under is 60.5. Mitch, are you back in prime time?
I guess North Dakota State. Yes. I mean, I do have respect for the North Dakota State program. That is a very good FCS program, very good football team. They always have great players over there. But you know, as much as I like North Dakota State, as much as they do tend to maybe get the better of an FBS team, I don't think it's going to be Colorado. I don't think Colorado's all that good. In fact, I'm not even sure they'll make a bowl game this year because they still have no defense. But I do think that the Buffaloes should be able to just get the better of North Dakota State, and the Bison should be a competitive game, though. Definitely one to see.
I'm excited for it. I do think Colorado should win. If again, same thing as if Florida State lost. If Colorado doesn't win, hey, I'm hoping they can get this team bowling. Um, yeah, I don't got much to say. I just think Colorado's the better team. They're the FBS team, though North Dakota State is an insane, the best FCS team out there. So yeah, we're gonna go with Colorado. Sticking in the Big 12, which is really weird to say considering who I'm about to talk about. Sticking in the Big 12, let's go to Arizona State. Still a weird sentence to say. I'm not
Very.
used to them not being 12. We've got we've got the Sun Devils at home up in Tempe, Arizona, a nice cool 25-minute drive from where I am currently, taking on the Wyoming Cowboys. Over under is set at 47.5. Arizona State is favored by 6. Look, ASU is not good this I just I could probably go buy nosebleed seats and sit in the front row. Probably not going to be that many people at these games. They're not going to be that good. I am excited for what Kenny Dillingham is building. I'm very excited for it. I'm very excited for the future of ASU. I will take them in this game, just because I think they are better than Wyoming, though I think it's not by very much. This is a very coin flippy game here. But I do think, even though there's not going to be that many people, there's not even that many people at ASU games when they're super good. Like, they've been decent, and there's not that many people. People don't go to these. Anyway, I will still stick with the home team on a coin flip here. I will go ASU, but do not. I would not be shocked if Wyoming ended up pulling it out. And speaking of which, Sam also has Arizona State. Mitch, who do you got?
Yeah, Sam ended up going with ASU. He also took Colorado as well against North Dakota State. Don't know if he mentioned that. But as for me, yeah, Arizona State's not good. They have not looked good at all. Wyoming last year, I did see them when they were playing Texas Tech in that like first game. I honestly was kind of impressed with what I saw. I'm not sure if that quarterback from last year is still there, but if that guy's still there, that Wyoming team should be solid. But and even then, I have no faith in this Arizona State team. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, Jacob. I'm sorry, but I'm going Wyoming in this one. They're just I am not into ASU. They I saw them multiple times last year. They did not look good. So
Fear the Fork? Think this is Fear the Fork? I don't know.
but I saw him multiple times, and every time it looked just even worse. So I am going to go with Wyoming in this one. And as you said, I would not be surprised if it went the other way and Arizona State did pull out the win. But I am going to go with the Wyoming Cowboys in this one. I'm looking to see if that QB is still there. I honestly don't see his name, so I'm not sure he is. And he
This
is not. He moved on. That's too bad. Still
this
taking my
sounds this sounds like a drive 2 hours down to Tucson to go watch Arizona play football this year again instead of ASU. Last year I
probably.
don't think I went. Last year I don't think I went to an ASU game. I only go to U of A games if they're better, and they have been recently the past 2 years. So anyway, we're moving on to the Big Ten MAC. Don't worry, once we get into the season, we're introducing a new section called Maction. It's not going to be on the podcast video, but it's only going to be on the. It's going to be Instagram exclusive. It's going to be a separate post where we're going to pick 5 MAC games. All right, in honor of Calvin, who is an assistant recruiter, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. He's some kind of assistant recruiter slash like equipment specialist at
He's
Central
like
Michigan.
a student assistant recruiter at CMU.
Yeah. So of course we're now a CMU pod. We love CMU here. So, but we're gonna do a couple actions. Not only just because of that, but I personally, the MAC might be the least talented Group of Five conference. My favorite Group of Five conference. I love the MAC. Anyway, Miami, Ohio, taking on the Northwestern Wildcats. Northwestern is favored by 2.5 points at home. At home, and their over under is set at 39.5. Again, another toss up. It's another kind of lower. It's another kind of lower Big Ten versus better G5 team. I am gonna side Northwestern just barely. Um, I heard this expression on another podcast that I was listening to. Northwestern's year last year is kind of similar to like when you're about to die and you get like this burst of like adrenaline to keep yourself alive and surviving. That's what Northwestern did last year on the brink of death. They just pushed themselves to go 7 or 8-5 or whatever they did. So I don't know if it's going to continue this year, but I will take them in this game.
Sorry, I had some stuff going on there. So you did you took Northwestern, correct?
And Sam took Northwestern as well.
Yeah, I thought he did. Okay. I'm yeah, Northwestern's really bad. Um, funny thing about Northwestern, so their stadium has actually been torn down and they're building a new one. So they're literally playing on their practice field right now. That's their home field. Like that's not a joke. That's a real thing. That's Northwestern's home field right now. It's their practice field. It's a decent. I mean, it's cool looking. It's actually like right off of like Lake Michigan or something. But it's like they had to like put up temporary seating just to make it work. I mean, it's a weird sight. I might just watch that game just to see what the heck it looks like because I'm sure it's gonna does look so strange just to see them playing on a literal practice field. But I mean, if that doesn't tell you enough, that's how bad Northwestern is. I don't know what will. Miami, Ohio was pretty good last year. I'm taking I think it's the Red Hawks. I'm taking Miami, Ohio to get the upset over Northwestern. It's not even that big of a line, but Northwestern's pretty bad. And I got Miami, Ohio in the upset. I'm not even sure it's much of an upset, but I'll take Mac. Mac. Hey, Mac teams have gotten a lot of upsets over Big Ten teams, so I mean it is certainly possible. And I could definitely see Miami, Ohio being the one to do it on a practice field at that. So give
Thing
me the Red Hawks to get the upset over the Wildcats of Northwestern.
That's the thing with the MAC, right? It's the most unpredictable conference of all time by far, and it's not even. Anyway, we are moving on. Speaking of bad teams, go to Nashville for one of the historically worst teams, Power Five teams of all time, in the Vanderbilt Commodores, who really stink. They will be taking on an upstart team who surprised a lot of people last year, and a lot of people are taking as a dark horse contender to make the playoffs. The Virginia Tech Hokies, led by Kyron Drones. Vanderbilt, I lost my lines here. Virginia Tech is a 13-point favorite, and the over-under is set at ESPN app. Please load 48.5. Mitch, take it away.
Yeah, so as Srbensky mentioned, Vanderbilt is pretty awful. And much like Northwestern, they actually had their stadium in like complete shambles because they're like doing a huge renovation to their stadium. And this is also not a joke. Last year, both of their scoreboards were being hung by cranes. That's that's legit. Both of their scoreboards and both end zones were being hung by literal cranes. So again, as I mentioned with Northwestern, if that's not a sign of how bad this team is, I don't know what is. But Virginia Tech is not on Miami, Ohio, as they are actually way better than Miami, Ohio. And I expect Virginia Tech to win pretty comfortably on the road against Vanderbilt. Obviously, that is in Tennessee, which I actually visited Tennessee not that long ago. Really cool scenery. I would highly recommend to anyone who has not gone there yet. Definitely a place I would visit again. But in any case, as Srbensky mentioned as well, Virginia Tech, bit of an underdog. Many people are picking them as a dark horse to win the ACC. I'm not really so sure about that, but Virginia Tech does have some talent, and they'll certainly beat Vanderbilt. I don't care if it's on the road; they'll beat Vanderbilt. And or not Srbensky, Sam also has taken Virginia Tech. I have a feeling I know who your taken were, but I'll let you say it for yourself.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking Vanderbilt, obviously. And let me give you 1,000 reasons why I'm taking it. I'm just kidding. We are definitely going ahead and taking Virginia Tech. So I am not as high on them to where I think they're going to win the ACC. Hang on.
And he's gone.
Okay. He was about to completely just um Virginia Tech. I don't think they're going to win the ACC, but I think they are a really good ACC team. I like Kyron Jones. I like the, I'm taking Virginia Tech. The next game is Coastal Carolina versus Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State's a 2.5 point favorite. Over under is set at 54.5. Mitch, take it away.
Yep, I'll take care of that. No problem. Um, look, listen, guys. I promise you next week, when we do this again, we will not have this going on. Obviously, we are things got a little screwed up when my power decided to completely conk out about by now it's actually 5 hours ago. So that really has put a strain on stuff, and we're just kind of trying to squeeze this in. So obviously, this is not ideal. Hopefully next week this will be cleaned up a little bit. I'm sure we'll actually be more prepared and it'll be a little bit better than this. But I wanted to get this out, so here it is. But in any case, let's just start with Sam's pick actually. He has Coastal Carolina actually going on the road and getting the win versus Jacksonville State. Now, I did that in NCAA football 25. I'm not sure if they'll actually do that in real life. Yes, I do have a dynasty as Coastal Carolina, and I actually won with Coastal Carolina over Jacksonville State. I did do that. But I don't think they're gonna repeat my success. So I will be taking Jacksonville State in this one. It should be a very competitive game, which is thoroughly what I'm expecting. These are two very good group of five teams. They're both, I'd say, near the top of their respective conferences. Coastal in the Sun Belt and Jacksonville State in the CUSA.
Houston,
Yes,
yep.
so I expect this game to be very competitive. Coastal is now dealing with no Grayson McCall as he has transferred out and gone to NC State. And I think they're also dealing with a new head coach as well, because I think their head coach went to. Did he also go to NC State?
I think he went to Troy.
Oh, well, in any case, their head coach is gone. That's all I know. um, but in any case, I like Coastal's team. I think Jacksonville State's got the slight edge at home. So Swerve, if you're ready, go ahead and take it away, my good man.
Over a potted plant. Jimmy Chadwell went to Liberty. I knew he went to a big name G5 school.
Oh,
He went to Liberty.
yeah, that sounds right.
All right. Yeah, Jacksonville State, I think, had a phenomenal entry into the Power Five or the FBS level. One of the great jumps. I mean, jumped up in what they went like 7-5 last year in their
Yeah,
first year of FBS play.
yeah,
That's really,
I
really
think
impressive.
close to that.
Coastal Carolina does not have the magic of the teal field. The teal field dark magic does not exist in Jacksonville, Alabama. Yeah, Jacksonville, Alabama, which I thought Jacksonville State was Jacksonville, Florida for the longest time. No, Jacksonville, Alabama. Yeah, no dark magic. No Chanticleer victory. Jacksonville State's gonna win, and we are moving on. You know how we were talking about one of the worst Big 12 teams against a G5 team? Guess what? We're repeating that narrative. We've got the Houston Cougars at home against the UNLV Running Rebels. Houston is a 2.5 point favorite. Over under is set at 54.5. We have Calvin's picks now. Let me real quick run down Calvin's picks up until then. He has Central Michigan, even though we did not put Central Michigan. He has Central Michigan. I'm liking that text. All right. For Michigan Fresno State, he takes Michigan. For Michigan State, Florida Atlantic, he takes Michigan State. No surprise.
What a
Syracuse, Ohio.
surprise.
Of course, he's going to take Syracuse. Goats. Troy versus Nevada, he takes Troy. South Alabama versus North Texas, he takes South Alabama. Boise State versus Georgia Southern, he takes Boise State. He takes Florida State over Boston College. I knew he was going to do it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew he was going to take North Dakota State over Colorado. I knew it. He takes ASU over Wyoming. He takes Miami, Ohio over Northwestern, so he's with you on that. He takes Virginia Tech over Vanderbilt, and he takes Coastal Carolina over Jacksonville State. But now we've got Houston versus UNLV. Mitch, go on ahead.
All right. I catching up on his picks there, putting them all in. But yeah, UNLV Houston. UNLV was awful, or I'm sorry, other way around. Houston was really awful last year. They were bad. Houston was one of the worst teams in I think all of FBS. I'm pretty sure last year they were that bad. UNLV had a really good season. They did fall short to Boise State in the championship game, but I still like this UNLV team, and I certainly do not like this Houston team. So I will be taking UNLV to get the win on the road. As weird as that sounds, I'll be taking the red. Is it Running Rebels or is it Red Rebels?
It's either Rebels or Running Rebels. I just said Running Rebels because it sounded cooler.
But nonetheless, I'll be taking UNLV and Sam, I believe, actually took Houston. Since I have Calvin's picks, I'll update you there too. He has Houston as well. So
And
both Sam
I'm gonna make
and Calvin both took Houston.
I'm gonna make it 3v1. I'm gonna take Houston as well. I'm going to take Houston as well. Enjoy your only win of the season, Cougars. Pretty sure that's. I'm pretty sure I literally that's their only win. Maybe it was BYU that. No, it was Houston that I picked to go 1-11. Anyway, we got the TCU Horned Frogs going on the road to AC Atlantic Coast Conference member Stanford Cardinals on the Pacific Coast.
Yeah, because that makes sense.
You got a Pacific Coast team on the Atlantic Coast. Gotta love it. Uh, TCU is favored by 9.5. Over under is 59.5. I do remember them being favorites against a specific Pac-12 team by a lot of points, and then Mitch winning shockers because he picked the right. Or was it you or was it Sam? It was you, right?
With Stanford USC. Stanford USC was me.
No, 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 no. TCU Colorado.
The Colorado one was Sam, and I would have done it, but I didn't want to copy him, so I went elsewhere. Which, in
Sam
hindsight, I should have just copied what he did.
Sam pretty much got an insurmountable lead the second he picked against TCU. I am gonna favor TCU. I don't believe in Stanford. I don't trust Stanford. Not the first week of the year. Is he really being that naughty? There's the guy who knocked the pot over. I'm gonna go with TCU.
Alrighty. And I believe Serbensky, or not. Why do I always say you when I'm trying to say Sam? Um, Sam also has Sam also has TCU,
This
and
is
Kelvin
what
uh, uh Kelvin has Stanford. They actually took the Cardinal to get the upset over the Horned Frogs. They are at home, so I could see it happening. As for me, I am sticking with TCU in this one. Stanford is a beyond terrible team. I do not like Stanford at all. They were not good. They were not good in the Pac-12. Not good in the ACC. Give me this. Give me TCU. I don't like TCU either, but TCU I think is less bad than Stanford, so I'll take TCU over Stanford in this one.
Alrighty, now you are going to Morgantown, West Virginia, where you will have the Mountaineers taking on the eighth-ranked Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State is an 8-point favorite. Over under is 51.5. Mitch, where are you going on this one?
Very interesting game. This is a second half of a home and home series. Last year was in Happy Valley, of which Penn State won pretty handily. And as you mentioned, this year they will be going to Morgantown. This will be the very first game of Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. Gotta love it. Gotta love Gus Johnson. I love. You love the Mac. I love Gus Johnson. Like that's just me. I love Gus Johnson. He's awesome. But Penn State. This is a solid Penn State team, and they have some solid defense. We'll see if Drew Aller can ever become the QB that Penn State was hoping he would be. They still have an outstanding running back room. West Virginia's a bit of a dark horse, much like Virginia Tech. West Virginia is actually a bit of a dark horse pick for the Big 12. A lot of people, there's some people are going with West Virginia to win the Big 12. They were 8-4 last year, so they had a solid season. I could see it being close, but this is Penn State. I think they win, even though it is in Morgantown. I think they win on the road. This is a good, like again, this is a good West Virginia team. I think they'll push the Nittany Lions for sure. But I do have Penn State taking the win in this one, and Calvin and Sam both have the same thing. I'll leave it to you on what you have.
Nice that we can enjoy Gus Johnson now without him being the harbinger of, oh, great, we get to play Ohio State and lose this week. Isn't it much nicer now that we are actually competitive?
It is.
I used to hate listening to Gus Johnson because it just reminded me of pain. Uh, yeah, screw West Virginia. I hate West Virginia. Go Penn State. No, I just think Penn State's the better team. I think they've got the better trenches. And you know me, as a person who loves Big Ten football, the trenches are the most important thing in football. You win in the trenches, you can win against any team. So I think Penn State's going to win the trenches, and they're going to beat West Virginia. Now, moving on, we are moving into the top five. Remember how we were talking about Thursday's going to have a nice, fun game for us? Well, guess what? Here we go. We've got the North Carolina Tar Heels at the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Are these two of the best teams in the country? Heck no.
No.
You know what? You know why it's a top five game? I have no clue what's going to happen between either of these teams because I don't know anything about these two teams. Good news for Minnesota: Callie McManus is gone. I don't know if he got any better, but every time I watched him, I felt like I was watching I Vomit. It felt like I was watching Spencer Petras. And I'm never watching a Utah State game because now that I know he's there, I never want. Fun fact: my friend Dylan and I, our first game of college football 25 together, we picked random teams, and I got Utah State, not knowing Spencer Petras was there. I picked a read option, and I ran, and I'm like, why does my quarterback look like every joint in his body needs WD 40? And then I look at my depth chart and I see that my quarterback is Spencer Petras, and I let out an audible groan. Anyway, back to Minnesota. They don't have Callie McManus anymore. The only thing I know in this game is Omarion Hampton is a beast for North Carolina. It's going to be a very fun game. It was Minnesota favored 2.5 for a while. Now it's flipped to North Carolina favored by 2. Toss-up game. Over-under set at 49.5. I'm going to go with the team that I know a little bit more about, and I'm going to go with the Tar Heels over the Golden Gophers. But it's going to be a fun game because I have no clue anything about any of these.
Yeah, this is going to be a great Thursday night kickoff game. Fun fact, the Big Ten has had a Thursday night kickoff game the past 4 years now. 3 out of 4 years have all been at Minnesota. I don't know
Great.
why they really like Minnesota, but I guess they do because they had them against Ohio State, they had them against Nebraska, now they're having them against North Carolina, which this is the second half also of a home and home series. Just so everybody knows, Calvin and Sam actually both took Minnesota, so they both have the Gophers getting a win at home against North Carolina. And as you mentioned, this should be a very fun game, very entertaining, which is exactly what you want for a Thursday night game. You're not looking for two great teams, you're just looking for a good game to watch, and that's exactly what this is going to be. Minnesota, as you mentioned, Kelly McManus has transferred. He went to Rutgers. And the new quarterback for Minnesota is New Hampshire's old quarterback, who at New Hampshire basically won the FCS version, I guess, like technically the FCS version of the Heisman Trophy. So he did very well at FCS. So maybe he does pretty well for Minnesota. As for North Carolina, their quarterback now replacing Drake May will be ex-Texas A&M QB Max Johnson, who looked decent at Texas A&M. I saw him a couple times at Texas A&M. Obviously, I see Serbinsky is not very. Huh? Yes, that is the new QB at North Carolina. Is Max Johnson. But as you also mentioned, Marion Hampton is still the running back over there, and that guy was absolutely unreal last year for North Carolina. And there's a Mac Brown led team, so I am going with the Tar Heels to win this one. I think it's going to be very close and very competitive, but I don't know anything that Minnesota has other than this New Hampshire guy, and I don't think he's the second coming of Cam Ward. So I'm going North Carolina in this one. So
What a
I'm going.
what a great what a great segue. Speaking of the next Cam Ward, let's talk about the first Cam Ward
I didn't realize
in
that.
now look, you got the Texas A&M Notre Dame, you got the LSU USC, you got the Georgia Clemson. My game of the week that I am the most excited for is Miami versus Florida. I am so excited. Again, college football 25. My first ever dynasty file was Florida because I wanted to play in the SEC. Brutal.
Hmm.
Do not recommend playing in the SEC the first ever time you play that game because you can lose to an FCS team, much less having to play Florida's schedule.
Hmm.
Anyway, I'm super excited for this game. I love some Florida football. I rewatched the Swamp Kings documentary, so of course I love Florida football. Super hype. Tim Tebow, I love him. Anyway, I'm very excited for this game because Florida. This is a need to win game. I mean, every game's always a need to win game, but I don't know if you've seen how they close their schedule. I'm sure that's the biggest discourse is they have the hardest schedule in like football history, which they do. But I mean, the Florida State game looks a little bit easier now. But I mean, they end the season after they end the season Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss at Florida State. When the schedule came out, they had 4 top 10 teams and 8 top 25 teams.
Crazy.
One of them, one of them is this Miami team. Needless to say, they need to win this game. Miami is a 2.5 point favorite in the swamp. Over under set at 53.5. I am backing the Florida Gators in this game. At home, I think Miami's a better team. Game number 1 in the new Cam Ward era. I think Mario Cristobal is one of the worst in-game coaches of all time. You can just look at the Georgia Tech game from last year, where all he had to do take a knee, and he won the game. That he ran it, fumbled, and I think he's a great recruiter, terrible in-game coach. Swamp's going to be loud. I'm very interested to see as well how loud stadiums are going to affect the helmet communication. Because even in the other game, you could see like Haynes King kept going like this in Ireland. That place only sits 50,000. Imagine what happens when you go to the swamp and you're trying to hear. I'm very interested to see how it's going to affect the helmet to helmet communication. I think Cam Ward's good. I think he's amazing. I think Miami's going to be a good team. But I think early in the season, week 1, in a must win game in Gainesville, Florida, to the swamp, Florida's been hearing all year about how they're going to have an awful year because of their schedule. I think they come out and set the tone early and win the game. Give me the Gators.
Yeah, as for Sam and Kelvin, they have both taken the Miami, Florida Hurricanes to get the win in the swamp in Gainesville. And as for me, um, I think this is going to be a very fun game. I mean, this is obviously a rivalry that isn't always played, although when it is played, it is always epic. But yeah, these two do not like each other. And as you said, this really is, and especially for Billy Napier, this is a must-win game for him. I mean, his job really is, I think, on the line this season. As much as they have a brutal schedule, there's been a lot of expectations have been set on this Florida really program, and they have not lived up to it. So this is really a big opportunity for the Gators to really take take everybody by storm, get a huge win, get the season on the right note. And, as for Miami, Florida, I don't really understand the 19 ranking. I mean, sure, they have Cam Ward, and they did get that Oregon State running back, Damian Martinez, who has his own off field problems. But really, other than that, who else does Miami have? Like, is there anyone that the Hurricanes even own? I mean, those are two good players by themselves, sure. And again, I still think this will be a very competitive game. But give me the Gators at home field. Home field advantage. You ever heard how crazy it is in the swamp in Gainesville? Yeah, good luck. Like that is a very, very tough place to play, even if Florida's not a good team. I mean, ask Utah. Ask Utah when they went down to the swamp as like what, number 7 in the country or something, or number 6, and they couldn't do it either. Now that was still Anthony Richardson era, but my point is, it is not easy to win in the swamp. and it is going, and Miami, Florida is going to feel that. I think the Gators are going to get a big one, and they'll get the season off on the right now. As for the rest of the season, that yeah, who really knows? But I think they'll at least win this
All right, and we move to the not all state, the Aflac kickoff game. You have the top ranked Georgia Bulldogs taking on the 14th ranked Clemson Tigers. Georgia's a 13.5 point favorite. Over under is 48.5. So, do we remember the first game of the Dan Lanning Oregon era where they played Georgia in this same game and got
one.
stomped 49-3? I am expecting something pretty similar. Maybe not 49-3. I don't think Clemson's got a shot in this game. I don't think they have a breath of chance. I just think Georgia's so much better of a team. Dabo Sweeney's reluctance to use the transfer portal is so frustrating. It's great for me as a Syracuse fan because I hate Clemson. And watching Dabo Sweeney burn his own program from the inside out is giving me so much joy. So much joy. But his unwillingness to use the portal, as well as Georgia being such a good team, as well as I don't believe in Cade Klubnik at all as a top quarterback. I don't think he's a top quarterback. I think Georgia comes out and stomps them. Yeah, give me the Bulldogs easy. Not even question.
And Calvin and Sam both shared your sentiment there. They both took the Bulldogs, and I did take Clemson as my shocker. That does not mean I'm taking Clemson. I am still taking Georgia. But as I mentioned when I made Clemson as the shocker pick, I think this Clemson team is going to make this game very competitive and very fun to see. Because the big thing with Clemson now, their offensive coordinator is the guy from TCU. Their offensive coordinator now is the guy at TCU who ran that TCU offense that scored like 50 points on Michigan. Is Garrett Riley. We know how good the Rileys are with offense. They're going to be a lot better this year. Now, I don't think Clemson is going to beat Georgia. But I think this game is going to be competitive. A lot of people are expecting something like that Oregon game, maybe like a 30, say 7-14 type deal, something like that. I'm sure that's what people are kind of expecting to see. I don't really see that. For me, I see more like a 24-14, 24-17. I think it's going to be very competitive. I think Clemson could maybe even pull out the win, but I still got Georgia winning this one. I think it's gonna be it's gonna be a lot more competitive. I think the ACC right now is Clemson's to lose, especially after Florida State's flop in week one and technically week zero. So I think this is gonna be very fun now. This is a huge game for both teams. A big opportunity for Clemson to show that they're not just the team that wins the ACC all the time and then flops in the college football playoff. Um, so I'm kind of curious to see how it goes for the Tigers, but I got the Bulldogs still pulling this one out.
On Las Vegas. I'm just going to say it is 13th ranked LSU taking on the 21st ranked USC Trojans. LSU is a 4 point favorite. Mitch, where are you going to go with?
Well, USC remains still a team that has zero defense, and they lost Caleb Williams. They're gonna have a tough time winning this one. I don't really know what LSU has either, because they did lose like pretty much their entire offense, because they don't have Blake Neighbors, there's no Brian Thomas, there's no Jaden Daniels, so I mean that was a huge part of what they did last year. But a lot of people seem to really like this Garrett Nussmeyer now. I think that's the guy that's taking over now at LSU. As for USC, was it Mason Miller or whatever?
Miller
Um,
Moss.
oh, or was it Miller Moss? Ah, okay. I got like the oh, that's what I'm thinking of. I have the Oakland A reliever on my mind. Wrong guy. Don't know why I had that guy on the mind, although he is pretty good. Anyways, oh, it's also Vegas, man, that's it. But LSU, I think they got the edge in this one. Personally, I think both of these teams are overrated. but I think LSU has the upper hand in this one. I think they're just a little bit better. Should be a fun game overall. I don't think there's really going to be a lot of defense in this one, so it could be highest scoring. But I'll take the LSU Tigers in a bit of a shootout. And
I'm starting to think
Sam and Calvin, I believe, both have the same thing. That is correct. They both have taken the LSU Tigers.
a Mr. Lincoln Riley was born on second base. Starting to think he's a Caleb Williams merchant. Um, yeah, I like I like LSU. I don't know why I blinked out on what I like LSU better. Obviously, they really like Nussmeier over there, so they kept him. I think he's going to be good. I don't know much about Miller Moss. Supposedly, he's supposed to be the next great quarterback. Caleb Williams was phenomenal, and they still went 7-5 only because they had Caleb Williams. Without Caleb Williams last year, that's a below 500 team. So yeah, give me LSU. Move on to the final game of the week. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish going on the road to Kyle Field to take on the Texas A&M Aggies. A&M's a 3-point favorite. I love Mike Elko. I think he's a phenomenal coach. I'm excited for Texas A&M this year. You'll never catch me dead picking Notre Dame. Give me Texas A&M. Give me them Aggies. I think Kyle Field's going to be a raucous place this year. Now that they got a new coach, new system, new everything, especially that first game with Notre Dame coming to town, I think they're going to be electric down there at Texas A&M. So give me the Aggies.
All right. And for game of the week, Calvin and Sam both also took Texas A&M. So they both are going with the Aggies. So you guys have left me on an island as I am taking Notre Dame. Uh, Personally, I think, and I said this about a lot of teams already, but and really both of these teams, honestly. Well, I don't know about Notre Dame, but certainly Texas A&M, I think is overrated, especially because you look at what happened in the offseason. Jimbo Fisher gets fired, and then you have a mass exodus of players going every which direction. Everybody transferring. You know that number one recruit or that number one overall ranked recruiting class that they had like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, I'm sure pretty much that entire recruiting class is gone, except for Connor Weidman. That's the only one I'm sure is probably still around. Everybody else is pretty much gone, transferred somewhere else, and never to be seen again. And like you said, now they're bringing in a new health or new head coach. I was trying to put head coach and Elko together. um, but Coach Mike Elko, I believe it is Mike Elko. He's coming back to Texas A&M after being at Duke for one season. He'll actually be facing his former quarterback because Riley Leonard transferred from Duke to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a very defensive team. They're very defensively minded. And A&M did not have a good offense last year, and their lone good receiver transferred, which was Evan Stewart. I don't know what other receivers they even have. I think this is going to be probably lower scoring because that's just how Notre Dame plays all their games. They're ugly and hard to watch. But if you love defense, you're gonna love this game because I think it's gonna be kind of a tough, hard-nosed football game because that's how again, like I said, that's how Notre Dame plays. It's Marcus Freeman. That's how he's gonna play. I think Notre Dame's going to pull through in this one. It'll be a Riley Leonard type game where he probably just runs through Texas A&M pretty much the whole entire game because that's all he can really do. He doesn't really have any throwing ability, I don't think. But maybe he does a little bit better with that Notre Dame. I think the Fighting Irish though they get it done here against the Aggies. They pull out a very close one in a really uh just sluggish game. It's gonna be tough to see.
And that's where I think Texas A&M and that's where I think Texas A&M can win in a close game like that, in a sluggish game, because I think Mike Elko is 10 times the coach that Freeman is. I think he's going to outcoach him, and I think in a close game, that coaching's going to matter. He almost beat Notre Dame with Duke talent, so I don't care what kind of talent he's got at Texas A&M. It's probably better than Duke talent.
Hmm.
So it's going to be a fun one. All right, well, that is week one. Hope you guys enjoy your first week of college football. Thank you again for watching. Keep a lookout for the Instagram page. I'm going to post all these picks here tomorrow, as well as I'm going to be posting our win total predictions. So see you guys later.
Also, hopefully we'll have some better setups next week. We won't be, it won't be like this. We can promise you. All right,
Peace.
until next time, everybody. Adios.